To order for June 15th, 2022. My name is Brooke Harris. First on the agenda is roll call, please.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Healy.
Here.
Mrs. Burdick.
Here.
Mr. Demick.
Here.
Mr. Fanton.
Here.
Mr. Havey.
Here.
Mr. Ricky.
Here.
Mr. Stockin. Here. 7 present.
Thank you, ma'am. Seeking approval of the minutes from the April 20th meeting, please.
Ricky motion.
Thank you, Mr. Ricky.
Vertical second.
Thank you, Ms. Burdick. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Those minutes are approved. County Treasurer Terry Ross with sales tax report.
Good afternoon, everyone. In your package was a sales tax report, and it was updated through the payment that we received on Monday. And we are still up, obviously, in our collections. Our net collections are up about 16.5%, or about $1.9 million, almost $2 million. We will get one more payment here in June. June's a month that they do a three-payment reconciliation, so we'll get another payment here on June 30th. If there are any questions, I can take any questions.
Is that 16% pretty similar to county statewide?
It is, from what we've heard, yes, it is. Yeah. And I did reach out to NISAC to see if they could give us any breakdown of regular gas versus diesel, and they didn't have any of that available yet. So we don't have that from Tax and Finance.
Mr. Healy?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Terry, now this gives us an idea of how we're doing in our sales tax, which is one of the two places we have to get our local share of the budget, primarily just sales tax and property taxes. But you have any idea on our expenses, how we're doing on the expense side of our budget for the year?
Our current budget?
Yes.
Yeah, we're doing well. I mean, we're not overly spending our budget. We are on target where we should be for 6 months in the year. After this month, I will be running some analytics on that for where we are after 6 months, but I don't have them done completed right now.
Okay. And you just closed the books for last year, is that correct?
Correct. The auditors have been here this week finalizing their analytics and their field work, and then we'll be getting in our audited statements.
And as you and I discussed, it'd be possible to get a report to the committee on the 5 big departments, our top 5, big 5 as we call them, department, and on their closing books
For 21?
for 21.
Yes, we can do that. We can have that for next month.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Speaking of next month, then, we also are working on currently the proposed timetable for the 23 budget, and we will have that available as soon as we can, and we'll email that out to everyone. We don't have that completed yet and firmed up on the dates, but they'll be very similar to what we did last year. We did kick off and tell the department heads last week at a meeting that to be prepared, the forms would be coming, and they would have to submit their budgets sometime in July, but we haven't firmed up the date yet. And then we'll get the 23 budget rolling. This is my favorite time of year. I got 3 years going.
Never
21,
ending.
22, and 23.
Procedural question on that.
Yes.
The departments come to you with a budget already prepared. Do you give them any, what would I say, advance warning? Like, pay close attention to this line, that line, as it relates to inflation. Is that something that you make sure that they're considering before they submit to you their rough drafts?
We don't usually. We will have we usually have had in the past a meeting with the department heads. We give them a list of things for salaries on how that we suggest that they submit their salaries. This year, we have all unions are in a contract, so it's easy for them to do their salaries for 2023. We certainly can send out in our memo that they need to pay attention to those line items that have inflation attached, like as utilities and gasoline and all those. What we do is their budget really starts with a 0, and they start out and then they give us what they feel they need for the current year. So It's not like they look at a budget line and we tell them to put 2% more in there because of inflation. We don't do that. They basically start with a zero and say, I'm going to need this, 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 and this for this year, and then give us the number. So that's what they'll submit. There's a form that they have to do it. Well, they submit it right in the system as of now, and then they attach any documents so that Carissa and I can see their documents about what their request entails.
I would guess it would save the budget officer some energy if there was some honest budgeting from the beginning, as far as those items are concerned that are susceptible to inflation.
Yes, and when we get them all back, we do run reports that will run all the line items across the county budget for gasoline. We'll run all the line items for electricity. We'll run all the line items so that we'll be able to see how far, are they budgeting exactly what they did spend last year, or is there an additional money? So we'll be able to see all that in our review too.
Yeah, it's going to be, the gas one's kind of a double whammy because we've limited our travel so much during COVID that
Correct.
those budget lines have been reduced anyway, and now everybody's traveling again, and we have the obvious increases in gasoline. So
Yeah, and when we run the reports, we look at not only just last year or the year before, which we all know were anomalies. 20 and 21 were kind of off the wall crazy as far as budgeting goes, because we froze spending, and then there was, a lot of money that came into us from grants for COVID. So the spending is kind of hit or miss for 20 and 21. So we'll have to make sure that we really look at 19 as well and put in that cost factor inflation, because 19 was really our last normal budget year. So, yeah, so we're hoping that we'll get all the budgets back into us sometime in July, and then we'll move forward with setting the dates for the budget committee to review with departments.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Burdick?
with the increase in diesel and gas, I'm wondering how it's affecting DPW and the road building, because I know the oil has gone up, and how is their budget holding up to that concern?
They seem to be okay right now. They haven't asked for any transfers or anything to cover their gasoline budget. I do know that they are watching that, and we had done preliminary looks at diesel from last year to this year, and it had gone up like $2. So we are aware of that, and doing the best we can. We buy in bulk for diesel, so some of that was purchased before the prices really skyrocketed. So I know they're keeping up on it as best they can. So, but they haven't asked for any additional money yet for gasoline or diesel or anything. So,
Thank you.
but it's early.
Yeah. I have a,
Ms. Fenton?
yeah, I presume we've looked at it, but I think we're good for another month or two, but then we're gonna need to reallocate on the diesel.
Yeah, I assumed that would be coming, but
Yeah.
Any other questions for Terry? It's a little bit more than sales tax, sorry, but
yeah, that's okay.
can you sit tight? Because we may need you for the resolution that's
Oh,
on the
okay.
agenda too.
Yep.
Okay, all good on sales tax? Okay. Next on the agenda, resolution calling on the governor to complete enhanced federal Medicaid assistance percentage reconciliations that are 5 years overdue and immediately release the federal funds owed to Allegheny County. Would someone like to make that motion?
Burdick will make that motion.
So moved by Burdick.
Second, Havy.
Thank you, Mr. Havy. Discussion, we've got Terry. She's probably one of the only people in the county that understands this, so while we've got her, if no one has any questions, maybe you can just give us an overview of what this is all about.
Well, really, Don's the guru on this, but I will try to answer the questions for you. This is something that the FMAP has not been reconciled since 2015. So we're out the 16, 17 year and forward. If you remember, NISAC has been on a kick to try to get us our reimbursement. The state has gotten all their money from the feds, and they have been holding that money until they reconcile our EFMAP claims. So we, as counties around the state, requested a FOIL request of the state about what was owed to us. We received that FOIL request, and there was about $1.4 million that is owed to Allegheny County alone. And we had, when Brooke had approached about doing the resolution, we asked NISAC, and they indicated that altogether it's like $1.7 billion that's owed to the counties and 5 boroughs in New York State. So this resolution is trying to get them to give us our money, basically.
So what's FMAP and what's EFMAP?
Well, that's really a technical question for Don, but it's, we pay out all these claims, and then we get this, is Edna here? She's not. It's part of our contribution towards Medicaid. And as you know, New York State is one of the few that require us to pay 25% of the 50% that's the state share. So this is our reconciliation to the actual claims that are paid and what's still owed to us, in short.
So according to Edna and Don, Allegheny County's owed at this point over $1.4 million in back reconciliations.
Correct. That is through the year end of 2021, I believe.
Okay.
The state fiscal year of 21.
Okay, and it's not state money, it's federal money the state's just holding.
Federal
it.
money, and it's really ours, yeah. Because we pay 25% of that, yes.
Terry, if we do ever get it back, will it be with interest?
My guess is no. Good thought. Maybe Brooke should put that in the resolution with interest. But I'm guessing no. Yeah. I don't recall seeing that on the one that they reconciled back in 15, but, it doesn't say it's not worth trying for. The rates are terrible, but hey. There's Don. Yes, if you need to ask more questions, there's the guru.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman,
if the money ever comes back, is it designated for something, or has it been so far in the rears that it's free to use wherever we need it now?
Yeah, why don't you? I believe when the money comes back, it will go as a refund prior year's expense. Is that where we'll post it to a refund prior year's expense? So it's basically just DSS, it'll go against DSS's revenues, collections for that year.
all right, now we have the guru. Anyone have any questions for Don?
Don?
Oh, so I can go back?
No. Oh, maybe you can.
You asked about the difference between FMAP and EF, it's the same thing.
Well, it's the same thing. The only differences that we're dealing with right now is the Affordable Care Act, FMAP portion, and then the COVID FMAP portion where they added to it when the extra federal money came out. So that enhanced it, so we got the lower weekly shares report, so that we're like 158 a week. And then when they figured that, it was figured on 5 quarters because they figured the money was gonna run that long. And then when they recalculated it, they only calculated it on 3 quarters. And then that, of course, raised our weekly share report up by 20,000 to 178 a week. So it cut it back.
And you'll see that on your audit. I believe it should have shown up on last time's audit sheet on the back side where you see what we've paid out in Medicaid. That one payment should have reflected 178 because it did go up $20,000 a week. And I want to say that was the beginning of June that we went from 158 to 178.
Is
So
that
you'll see
something that's
that.
supposed to be corrected with this reconciliation, or is that a totally separate
No,
issue?
that's a totally separate weekly share amount that we pay every week towards Medicaid for the county.
What they do is when they calculate that, the state will calculate, this is your total 100% FMAP reimbursement that we're gonna lower it. And then they only give the counties 80% of that amount. And then they hold back the 20%, so when they do the reconciliation of what the FMAP is on the final actual number, they don't send a bill to the county and say, oh, you've underpaid, now you gotta pay another $500,000 or $1 million that we gotta come up with overnight to make the payment. Hopefully the 20% covers that, and then whatever's left out of the 20 comes back to the county.
It's a good idea if they ever end up reconciling and paying it back.
It would be nice after 5 years.
Yeah.
Yes, it would.
Okay, so when we have something like that, $1.4 million, if it's not, that's owed to us, if it doesn't come from them, then it comes out of local share, basically, right? At the end of the day, when you close the books at the end of the year.
Correct.
because it's.
Because
a
we've paid the
weekly
bill.
share.
Right, we've paid the bill, and now we're just waiting for that reconciliation to come back based on the actual payments that we made. Because what we pay on a weekly basis is not actual. That's just a calculation to get us through the year. And that does get adjusted a couple times during the year, depending on different factors from the state. But we pay an estimate. So in the end, they reconcile the actual, and that's where, we've gotten 80% of that money. They've held back 20 to cover any overages, and then right now, they owe us. We don't owe them, so.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I do want to thank you guys, Edna, Don, Terry, County Attorney's Office. It's a kind of a pain for everybody to put one of these resolutions together. It gives other people work, so I appreciate the work that people put in for this. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried. Any old business? New business? Anything for the good of the order? Motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Healy.
Havey will second that.
Thank you, Mr. Havey. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.